Hey AfterBuzzers, welcome back to the Castle Rock After Show. Tonight we are breaking down episodes 3 and 4, Local Color and The Box. What is going on with Molly and Dennis? Henry learns more about that faithful day when he was a kid, and do you hear it now? We've got so much, so stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
You guys, but this show is just something that I can't get out of my head.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's like constantly in my head.
You think about it for the entire week until the next episode.
Exactly.
I like that, though.
All right. Welcome to another Castle Rock After Show. I'm Veronica Valencia, and with me I am joined with a fantastic panelist. To my left we have...
Hello, I'm Jorge-Luis Pallo. How's it going?
Hey, everybody. Zia Anderson here.
And I'm April Dawn, and I'll be reading all of your YouTube comments, so if you have a shout out, or if you say something, I'll shout you out.
Coming up later in the show, we are talking all things Molly. We are talking about that weird kind of confrontation with Henry and that one Joseph dude.
Desjardins,
that guy.
yeah.
And of course, we are going to be talking about the Shawshank prison and how it affects everyone and how they all basically feel like prisoners. But before we get into any of that, guys, your overall thoughts on these two episodes?
Man, I am so hooked on this show already. I love the slow burn as we're learning little by little more about how the whole town blames Henry for the death of his father, and now he's having these flashes of memory, and then Molly with her, what is she, an empath, a telepath? An empathic telepath?
She's actually like Danny in The Shining, where she can feel other people's presence and dead entities, and that's why she has Henry in his head.
clairvoyant.
Yeah.
Oh, she can feel.
Oh, yeah. Wink, wink.
Everything.
Ooga.
Oh, yeah. This was, I mean, if this is one of those shows that if every episode didn't come out weekly, I would have already seen the entire season. I'm so mad when it ends because I'm like, wait, that's it. And it's so good because it's taking a completely different direction than I thought. It's really surprising me, and I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely surprising me as well. And I think the pacing is so interesting because what we open up with in episode 3 with Molly, I feel like is something like at the end of a season that you would get.
Yeah.
But we're just opening it up like they're solving that mystery. But now the question is why she did what she did.
Exactly, and going off of you, April, that's something that I really enjoyed about these two episodes as well, is that they give you just enough to satisfy you to answer the question that you're having in your mind, but then of course it sprouts 5 other questions. So it's like they give you a little, but then they pull you right back with like, what the heck's going on? But again, going off of what you said with Molly and how this show opened, let's just get right into Molly. So episode 3 opens up with the flashback when Molly is a little girl, and this obviously just happened right after the incident.
Right, after he falls off into Castle Lake and breaks his back, right? And they just found Henry.
I believe Henry is still missing at this point.
Yeah,
I
Henry's
believe.
still missing.
Yeah, yes. And so she goes over there, and he's basically laying in his bed, and then we find out she kills him.
Yes. And it's weird because it almost seems like she's not herself. Did you notice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she was in a trance
She
almost,
literally
right?
walks over to his house barefoot in the snow, like something is compelling her to
Yes.
go there.
She
not
put the
a
little
normal
hoodie
human.
over her head and
Yeah.
was just like
She's not wearing any pants, which is crazy. She went out in the freezing cold snow. And it goes back to, I believe it was the second episode where she has the cold breath coming out of her mouth. And I think she had a connection with somebody else who was possibly outside in the cold. And that's what that was, I'm guessing.
You know, I had the exact same thought because as we get into a little bit later in the episode, we kind of learned that not only can Molly hear voices in her head, she's not 100% crazy. Like, there is truth to the voices in her head, but we also learn that she has the ability to sense and feel other people. And we'll definitely get into that a little
she feels
bit.
people.
Sorry, guys. Those jokes are going to be the whole time.
The whole time. But and so we kind of learn a little bit more of that with her connection with Henry. And so we find out that she kills Matthew Deaver. She unplugs his oxygen. And going off of what you said, Zia, I don't think she knew what was going on. I don't think she was in her right mind. I don't think she had any idea.
But she still remembers it, doesn't she?
She remembers it, but I think in that moment, maybe it could have been like a blackout. Like maybe she knew what was going on, but she had no control of her consciousness.
Like
I
she.
don't-
Oh, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
no,
It's almost like she was compelled to do it,
Yeah.
right? It was like she was compelled to do it, but still, I mean, didn't she say something to Henry about feeling him across in the house and how he
Yeah.
felt about his father and everything as well?
And when I originally watched the episode and like while it was happening, I originally thought that she knew some really terrible things that his father was doing and did it like killed him to help Henry.
Right, that's what I
Because
thought.
like possibly he was very abusive or something along those lines, and he was this really terrible man and nobody knew it, but she knew it because she could feel what Henry was living in. So I thought that at first, but then that breath thing made me think that she had a connection with somebody else. So I'm not sure. It could. I feel like it still could go either way.
I'm also interested in the pills she's taking, though. What are those that she needs to? What's the medication?
They didn't say specifically, but it's just to numb the voices so she can actually function like a normal human being instead of always feeling other people's energies and thoughts and emotions.
So probably like a beta blocker or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we learn again that Molly has the ability to connect with people as per the scene that happens in episode 3 where she invites Henry over to her house and basically tells him she knows what's going on behind closed doors in regards to him and
Feels like fireworks.
it feels like fireworks. And I thought, not only did I find that just funny because it kind of came out of nowhere, but I do believe that some fans are really enjoying that. So I'm reading because Stephen King in his original works can be a little explicit. And the fact that this show is not shying away from situations like that, it's very impressive because they're definitely putting in all the stops here. So, yeah, I definitely thought that was funny. And again, we see that she has the ability to connect because I think there's a scene there where Henry like burns himself and she feels it.
Yes, yes. So she not only knows thoughts and feelings, literally feels the exact same thing, which is crazy. Which led me to another darker possible conclusion that maybe the dad was molesting him and and she could feel it and that's why she knew.
Well,
Just a guess there.
that's a
It's a solid theory.
solid theory.
I mean-
I'm not going to deny that.
I thought that as well. I thought that she killed him out of revenge to be Henry's savior because she was feeling some type of pain coming from Henry in regards to his and his father's relationship.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I thought as well. Because when she was standing over her father, over his father, when she pulled the respirator out of his throat, there was like no emotion there. There
She was
just,
a savage.
She was just
sitting there watching him.
Yeah, just like watching him die,
Right.
like she's done it before, like she's a Sicario for the cartel or something. I don't know.
And the fact
ruthless.
that she got away with it and was completely silent when Henry's mom, or what we assume was his mom, was just sleeping right there.
What I want to know what that scene is, how was he not hooked up to any machines that started beeping when he stopped breathing and his heart flatlined? He wasn't connected to anything. Like nothing was like, hey, his heart's not beating, maybe check on this guy.
Well, it's
Ooh.
1991, so
Yeah,
maybe
I
it's
guess they
like,
just didn't have it, or maybe they couldn't afford that sort of technology.
maybe.
But oh man.
And going back to your point you made earlier, Zia, about the breath when the cop comes in to question her, I personally also kind of thought that that was her connection to Henry because, as we saw in the beginning of the episode, he's found out on the lake in the pier in the dreadful cold, and you can tell she's like very freezing. She's breath is coming out.
She's freaked out. She's crying. Yeah.
So I think she definitely had a sense of where he was, and that's also why she was so scared, was because she knew, because she was feeling it, but she couldn't say it.
Right, because that's something you get locked up for.
Yeah.
You are crazy, ma'am.
Yeah.
Very astute analysis. I like that.
Not completely crazy.
No, but that's how they would see her. Like,
Oh,
they
yeah.
would think she was completely
Oh, absolutely.
insane.
She'd
Yeah.
be locked up
Yeah.
in Shawshank adjacent psychiatric ward, whatever that is.
which she probably knew and was like, I can't tell them I know where he's at.
Right.
Yeah. Or that he's, unless she told Pangborn and that's why he was out looking for Henry.
You're just coming up with theories
I
right
mean,
here.
This is just,
Well-
this has just popped into my head just now. Because he,
That's
this is later in another episode, but Henry asks him, what were you even doing out there?
right.
He's like, why? I'd been missing for 11 days. Everybody thought I was dead. What were you doing? Why were you looking for me?
Yeah, that's in episode 4. That is
Yeah.
quite possible. Look at you coming up with it. Yeah, all right.
This
So
show,
smart.
it makes you think
It does.
so much.
And that's what we love about it.
Yeah.
Now, let's flash forward to the present day. Molly's an adult. Henry comes back into town and they meet up. This is kind of like their first official little meetup. And she is super, super awkward. And it's pretty hilarious.
It was cute.
I was confused how she would not recognize the one black guy from her town at first.
I
I'm like,
think-
how did you not know who that? You know who that is.
Yeah. I think she did know who he was. I think maybe my initial thought was maybe she is still filled with this guilt because she knows what she did. He
yeah.
doesn't. So maybe there's still this guilt of like, I do love you, but I did this horrible thing to you. And in that, not only, did she kill his father, but that also led to a domino effect of just everyone hating him and having this terrible life to the point where he just wanted to get out of Castle Rock. Mm-hmm. So she probably feels this immense guilt, like, I can't be around you even though I really want to.
And the way she reacts, like how all the her thoughts are muffled and it comes out weird, like you can tell it's very hard for her to talk about. And that's like my favorite part of the episode when she does compare it to the Bee Gees song Always Stuck in Her Head on replay, which is why we picked that song to start with.
Yeah.
And then let's flash forward again to Molly's appearance on Local Color. By the way,
Oh, the cable access show, yeah.
I also just want to give a quick shout out to Melanie Linsky who plays Molly. I thought she did a great job.
fantastic.
She's making me feel all kinds of things. She's making me feel sympathetic for Molly. She's making me feel like, Molly, you need to come down a little bit. Like, she's giving a great performance, and I'm really enjoying her so far.
Yes.
Oh, I'm rooting for Molly. I'm hoping that the whole, that she is a real estate queen and can, sell some houses.
Get some people into Castle Rock
Yeah,
for
get some
more
people-
bad things to happen to them.
You need to keep that real estate up.
Seriously. Well, and that also proves that not proves, but shows how strong their connection is because they were back around each other for a day.
Right.
And she, blurbs out with the prisoner thing on the air, which ended up really helping Henry out a lot.
A lot.
Again, bring...
That was one of the greatest moments in TV because they cut from from the reporter that was interviewing her to Henry to then the warden to then somebody else, and everybody had the holy face,
Yes.
the holy
Yes.
S face. Like,
The
what do I
warden-
do with this now?
Yes, the warden definitely had the oh crap.
Yeah.
And again, that brings me back to my theory. Is she trying to be his savior? Mm-hmm. Because up until this point, Henry has had such a difficult time trying to get any type of justice for this prisoner. Like, they just want to give him a settlement and be done with it, but he wants true justice. Either because he's, a good lawyer and he wants to stick to his morals as a lawyer, or to a point that Molly said later on in, I believe it was maybe episode 4, where she says, oh, did you take this case because he was kidnapped? And it reminds you of what happened to you way back when.
Yes. And you notice that when she says that, that's when he starts getting, I think it is, when he starts getting flashbacks of sitting in the dirt and his hands are gripping dirt and he's playing with a toy truck and he's obviously in some kind of a cage. And I think that happened at the very beginning of the episode. He was dreaming of that. And then she says that and then slowly starts to come back to him. And it's obviously something he doesn't remember. At first I thought maybe he did remember what happened to him, he just didn't want to say. But he was definitely kept somewhere.
The memories just kept on coming
Yeah.
back, slowly trickling in, like somebody who survived some sort of trauma and
Yes.
it's just repressed all those memories. Now they're just slowly seeping in.
Because he's back where it feels familiar.
Right.
Yeah.
And plus, I mean, does the supernatural element come into all of that as well, or is that just, reality, or is that just his reality?
Good question. I don't know.
He stumped you.
You have all the answers.
You have all the answers.
All right, I think this is a good time to segue into our next topic of conversation for the after show. But before we get into that, Jose, I believe you, Jorge. Oh my gosh,
Ouch.
my mind is not here today.
It's been a long day and it's very hot.
Jorge has a great announcement for all of you.
Oh,
I was
yes.
anticipating what was coming next.
All right, I'm going to do a little live read for you guys here. Hey, AfterBuzzers. Our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows. From dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is no network that works harder to serve television fans, but we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about scary, pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel, and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments, and we'll thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk. Scare you later, AfterBuzzers.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my God. Jorge, you're the only person that's allowed to do the for the rest of the show.
From now on, you are the only one allowed to give that announcement.
right, cool.
That's amazing.
But now you have to do the rest of the show like that as well.
Oh, okay. I'll just do, that's my Vincent Price. Like anybody here knows who Vincent Price.
But as we mentioned in our announcement that, we do see your comments and we do give shout outs on air. And speaking of which, April has actually seen a couple of comments and that she wants to give some shout outs to.
So these are just for the first 2 episodes. Renee Weber said, the warden has been pushed out of working at the prison. He knew there was a good chance that the new warden would want to use that section of the building, which means that the prisoner would be found. He no longer had any control over him. He couldn't let him out, but he also couldn't kill him. He just couldn't deal with it, so he killed himself. I think he told the prisoner to ask for Henry because he knew they are somehow connected, which I think in the next 2 episodes we realize they definitely are. Mm-hmm. And then the second comment is from Terrence Hilton Lyons. The kid is the devil or antichrist. The question of can you hear it now possibly means the end of the world or the sin of the people. The fact that the cage was made of iron is a reference to the medieval and church tools for fighting demons or ungodly creatures, which I never thought about.
Oh.
So great
Great
points,
insight.
guys.
Yeah. There's just
Man, everybody's on top of it on this show.
Yeah.
Nice.
everybody has some new theory, and honestly, I think every theory can work. I sit here and I listen to everything that you are saying, and I'm like, yes, this could totally play out. And that's what I really love about this show is that they could literally go anywhere, and I would be fascinated with whichever direction they choose.
Yes.
I'm enjoying the ride myself.
So let's move on to our next topic, which is, of course, Shawshank Prison and the Shawshank Prisoner. So we kind of see in this episode that, you know, he's still in solitary confinement, he doesn't eat, and of course, Dennis is still trying to be nicer to him.
Yeah, he really is. He's trying to talk to him like a human being, and
Poor Dennis.
I know. It was so sad.
Stupid Dennis.
Oh, we'll get to that later,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
I'm gonna cry.
It's not what I was expecting. Yeah, he's still trying. He's still trying to talk to him like a person. And I always thought it was funny that people keep speaking to him like he knows what they're talking about. I noticed that when it's, who is it, the right-hand guy of
Reeves.
Yeah, Reeves.
He's a
I hate that
he's
guy.
a slimy little
Yes.
SOB.
But he goes in there and like talks to him like he's supposed to understand what he's talking about. When he speaks, he's so childlike. He asks, you know, how many years old are you? He doesn't know what you're talking about. You're talking to him about like being in a sandbox, and people just keep speaking to him like he knows anything. And I'm like, you guys, he's been in a box for years. Why do you keep? I don't know. That just annoyed me for some reason.
I mean, Warden Lacey used to talk to him in the box
not that
too.
he doesn't like know words or can't speak, but I don't think he knows that much of like outside normal life.
Socializing.
Socializing, right. So they keep going in there and he's telling him this story about being out in the sandbox and obviously he's.
But he can, I mean, he may not understand exactly what the sandbox and all that is, but he does understand. He knows he's being threatened.
That was my favorite moment in the entire episode was when he got up and scared the crap out of him.
And then he just closes the gate.
Yes.
He's like, stay out of my cell.
He tried to threaten his threaten tactics did not work.
What I thought was interesting that he was quoting the Bible. So that must have mean that the warden, because he thought he is the devil, was probably trying to read to him and purify him and fix him somehow.
Or if he is the devil,
point.
he's also, I mean...
He would know the Bible.
He would know the Bible because the devil, is Lucifer, right? The fallen angel. So he might know the Bible as well.
Either way.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's all coming to a boil. But yeah, so we see that Dennis is, as we had mentioned, trying to be kind to him because, he's been locked up for a very long time. He doesn't understand social cues. And then this also kind of leads to an interesting turn of events for Dennis because as we saw in the first 2 episodes, he felt for the Shawshank prisoner. He wanted to help him out as much as he could, but he didn't want to lose his job because he has a baby on the way. And the prison is really the only form of work for people in Castle Rock. So Henry wanted him to testify, but he didn't want to do that, not even anonymously, because he was in such fear of losing his job. This time around, he's more than happy to do that, and in fact, he encourages it and is so disappointed when he finds out it's just a hearing and not a trial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue.
I was just gonna say everybody's like
Everybody's so excited.
Yeah, he just did a complete 180. And that's when you really uncover all the other things that are going on at the prison. Because they don't really address that until that happens. And he's like, there's all this other stuff happening. And he's like, one of the wardens at the prison, or not the wardens, the officers at the prison, like, almost blinded a guy with the delousing powder on purpose. And so then you find out about all that other stuff and how it's really starting to get to him just working there in general. So I think he just really wants out, no matter how it happens.
I mean, there was even a moment there where he looks at Henry where they're in the cars and they're having that little meeting, that secret meeting, and he's like, maybe I could be a lawyer too someday.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for him in that moment, and Henry just looked at him like, yeah, sure, bud, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll give you a recommendation.
Sure, I'll give you a recommendation. Felt so bad for him.
Something that I found interesting was every time you saw Zalewski in the prison, like in the background, I noticed that there were other officers just like beating up inmates. And I just feel like every day going through that, it finally came to a boiling point, which it obviously did at the end of the episode.
Well, yeah, what did he say? Once those doors lock behind you, you're a prisoner too.
Yeah.
And then he's trapped behind in front of those monitors, watching it day to day, which is, I guess, that in episode 2 when he sees that the prisoner got loose, and you see those dead bodies. Those dead bodies are in the same places as the end of episode 4.
Oh,
it was
my
foreshadowing, by the way.
What a great catch.
Oh, you're blowing my mind right now.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
So he foresaw himself do this.
Oh, that makes it worse.
Oh my God.
Poor Dennis was doomed from the beginning.
know.
Oh wow, we should have got that.
Yeah, and just another example of how this prison, hurts these people is when we see Molly going to get her drugs, we come across, a little Children of the Corn over here. And basically the young kids that she sees say, oh, where are your moms? They're out getting drunk. Where's your dads? They're at the prison. Everyone is a part of this prison, whether they want to be or not. They are prisoners. And that just goes to show you how much control it has and how much the people don't necessarily want that. But yeah, no, obviously going back to Dennis and what happened at the end of episode 4.
Shout out to that actor. What is it?
Noel Fisher.
Noel Fisher. Mickey Milkovich from
Yes.
Cheers.
We talked about this. In
Michelangelo
yeah.
from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes, last week we had mentioned that. But no, I didn't see it going that route, and he was a character because we had seen him up to this point, trying to help Henry, trying to help the Shawshank prisoner, trying to get justice for the people who are being treated poorly in the prison. So you're rooting for this guy, and then he turns around and finds his out, I guess, by doing what he does.
I don't know. The minute that he fist bumped that prisoner, I was like, oh man, he's about to turn into a supervillain of some sort.
You know,
and then he started drawing the smiley faces.
That was it.
That was it.
it's over.
Game over.
It's funny because when he fist bumped him, I kind of had the same thought of, oh, he's going to get sick and maybe something's going to happen. But for some reason, after that rampage, I just didn't put it together. I think I was too enthralled with the rampage.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it. I didn't see him going off the rails that quickly. Like, I could see that maybe in another couple of episodes after Henry leaves and he realizes he's stuck there. But he just went from, I mean, that's probably why, because he touched a prisoner, but 0 to 100 just immediately.
Right. Right. Was that one too many times that that the other guard was like, smile.
Yeah.
It's better than plastic surgery.
You notice he went for her first.
Yeah, dang right.
So I also want to just take a moment briefly, everyone, to talk about iTunes. Just earlier in the show, Jorge did a great announcement of our YouTube channels, but of course you can also catch our show on iTunes. So you can go on over to iTunes, download it, listen to it, give us a rating, give us a review, and we will read those as well. So you can definitely find us on YouTube and iTunes. So be sure to check both of them out. So let's go into kind of this other big moment that happened in episode 4 specifically, when Henry basically gets some information about that night, about the incident with his father. He meets up with who he thinks is Vince Desjardins. They had to like say it a few times because I was like, what? Ooh, oh, okay. And he basically finds out that this guy was released from prison a month before he went missing, and things are very shady with him. And he's wondering his relationship with Alan Pangborn. And he gets there and he basically finds out, oh, Vince isn't around, but it's his creepy brother who lives in the house, who just so happens to have a report of Henry under his bed.
Yeah, don't forget the barbershop.
And then,
Come on in, I'll give you a high and tight just like I did Joe Lewis. Get out of here, old man. Get away from my head with them clippers. What are you talking about?
seriously, when was the last time you actually did a haircut?
Right. And is that thing sanitary? I don't think this place is sanitary.
Definitely not up to code.
Definitely not.
But this was a change of events for Henry, because it was after this meeting that he addresses Pangborn, who he obviously has had issues with all the way through the episode, whether it be jealousy because if he's with his mom or something that happened when he was a kid. They have a bad relationship. What were you gonna say, Zia?
Oh no, I was gonna say I noticed that and we finally get to find out a little bit why he's so suspicious of Pangborn.
Yeah, because again, to that point that you made earlier where he asks him, like, why were you out there?
Yeah.
I was gone for so long. And then Pangborn gives him this information about his father, saying that his father claims Henry is the one that did it. Mm-hmm. And now Henry is taking like 2 steps back and thinking, wow, maybe I did do it, which he never thought before.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, and he just assumed that everybody was being crazy. But it's so strange because he obviously doesn't remember. I thought maybe he did. I thought maybe he remembered and just didn't want to tell anyone what happened to him, but he definitely doesn't remember.
No, he has no clue.
And again, that could be going back to your theory, Jorge, about the repressed memories. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't want to remember anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, what was that one line that, what is it, Joe Desjardins, Vince's brother? He says to him, you know I didn't touch you, right? You know I didn't touch you. Like, who has to say that?
Mm-hmm. And what's with the bowl of cereal in the box?
In the box.
And it's moldy. It's obviously been there for a long time.
Oh. And the fact that it was locked. You're locking up a moldy bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
Like, what are you hiding?
Seriously.
All the DNA that's in there, I bet, from whoever was staying in that box.
But then, when Pangborn came around looking for Henry, wouldn't he have noticed that box there?
Right. And looked in it.
Right.
But is it because he already, in his mind, was like, this kid is guilty, and because his father told him or wrote down Henry did it, which I can't wait to find out if that's true, and if so, why?
We'll see that in a flashback, I'm guessing,
yes,
right?
I hope so. So he had already written him off and was just kind of trying to find him. And if that's true, he also covered for Henry and didn't dig any deeper and just sort of closed the file and was like, no, nothing to see here.
Well, obviously he did that for Henry's mother,
For Henry's who
Ruth.
he was in love with,
Yeah.
which we find out, which is another reason why Henry doesn't like her, like Pangborn very much.
I thought that Henry was trying to figure out if Pangborn was the one that actually killed his father, and because he was cheating with his mom,
Yeah.
right? That's what I thought he was alluding to in that.
There's just so many things
I know.
that you think about in just this one episode. I know we're covering two, but in even just this one episode. So with everything that we've discussed tonight, everyone, do any of you have final thoughts on episodes 3 and 4?
Oh, it just makes me want to know more. It's one of these shows where I'm like, I need to know. Why can't it be next Wednesday already?
So so at the end of episode 4, when Henry goes over to not Ruth's house, to Molly's house, and she invites him in, and then he wakes up the next morning, that means that.
Oh, they did it.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
checking.
yeah.
They did it. All right.
Yeah, which also, that was, I was like, wow, that was fast, okay.
I was like, all right.
There were more
I'll get for
fireworks.
that.
For it, yeah.
Fireworks.
Like, good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
Good. April, any final thoughts?
I just think they're doing a fantastic job, as you said earlier, of answering one question and giving you 5 more. And I'm loving the way that they're setting it up. And I feel like nothing is so obvious where it's like, oh, that's obviously going to be this. There's so many different routes and avenues that they can take for the show. And I think that's so cool that they're doing such a good job at that.
I agree. They're doing such a good job of incorporating all things from Stephen King's universe, including some Easter eggs. Yeah.
Do you have some Easter eggs?
Yes. Zia, you do have some for us?
I did,
yes.
yeah. I looked them up, and some of these are from other people that I just found, and they put them out there. And some lists had more than others, and so I kind of compiled them from a few of the lists. One of them was the yellow raincoat that Molly's wearing. The jacket is the same bright hue as Georgie's in it.
Oh.
Yeah, there are a lot of really little ones in this episode or these episodes.
I felt like I would have caught that because I really
yeah.
enjoy it. Yeah, it's a very obvious
You
one.
always catch all the it ones too. Yeah.
There was balloons and they weren't even red, but I was like, it.
Yep. Balloons. The Castle Rock gazebo that she wants to build to, because every revitalization needs a gazebo, is the scene of a murder in the Dead Zone, and then it is also then burned down in Needful Things.
Oh.
Get that.
Okay.
And then the scene with the Children of the Corn, we already caught that one. Yeah, that's like a really obvious one.
Yeah, it's children around, acting like
Yes.
adults. There's no adults.
Masks.
Kids are
too
scary.
creepy.
Like, in general. They're
Just all
just scary.
children.
Just all children are scary.
And then there was the Ramones poster in Molly's room when she was a kid, and they actually wrote the theme song for Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know. Oh, you
Yeah.
knew that. That's so cool. And then Vince Desjardins. Is that
Desjardins.
Desjardins.
I am
There
so
we go.
sorry, everyone. We
Desjardins.
will perfect
Desjardins.
these names. Last week we had such a hard time with Zaluski. We're still having a hard time.
Oh boy. So he was also part of Ace's gang in The Body, which was the adaptation Stand By Me. And also Rita Desjardins was the name of Carrie's PE teacher in Carrie. Whether or not they're related, we don't know, but possibly same last name.
Okay.
Wow, again,
Yeah.
I would catch that.
They're just so little and slipped in there. And then we got another one. Oh, the Dodd House. When Molly references that a serial strangler died in her house, is it this is just a question, but I mean, we're guessing. It's the legendary strangler Frank Dodd from the Dead Zone.
Right.
Or in the Dead Zone.
The deputy sheriff.
Yes,
right?
yes. And then we've got Maple Street. When Pangborn and Henry are going to his father's grave where they reburied him, they turned down Maple Street. And that might be a reference to The House on Maple Street, which is a short story from Stephen King's Nightmares and Dreamscapes. So many little ones, guys.
Yeah.
And we also have the graffiti in the kids' cell. It says, there's a whole bunch in there, but one of them says The Reaper. And that might be a reference to one of Stephen King's earliest short stories called The Reaper's Image. And it's the tale of an antique mirror haunted by the image of the Grim Reaper.
Oh.
That's all I have. If anyone got any more.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
that is a hefty list.
Right, and there's just snuck in
You
there.
say it so nonchalantly, that's all.
That's a lot.
But I can't take credit for these. I did find them. I caught maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah. And that's, yes, and obviously fans of Stephen King's works who are veterans and know his works very well definitely do catch these. And if you are one of those people that can catch all these Easter eggs, definitely let us know in the comments. Let us know how many you found, how many you had to look up, how many you think was one, even though maybe it wasn't. And we'd like to see that kind of stuff because we always like talking about, like, who can catch what. So before we move on to our predictions, any final thoughts on episodes 3 and 4?
I do have just a little tidbit from Stephen King, just tying into the Easter eggs. So he did put out a little tweet saying he offers advice on how to best enjoy Castle Rock. And he says in it, Castle Rock is really good. Each episode better than the last. But put all that Easter egg stuff aside and just enjoy it on its own terms. The cast is incandescent and they support a story worth telling. So basically he's saying don't focus too much on the Easter eggs, but you can't help it.
Can't help it.
Now you tell
You can't.
us.
I mean, to be
Well, that's when
fair,
you watched each episode twice.
Right.
Once to enjoy it, and the other time to be like, okay, what's that?
What did I
Well, see,
miss?
What did I
was-
miss?
Yeah, I was going to say I think the majority of fans are enjoying it, and the Easter eggs are just a nice little touch.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because
And
as we
slip. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, because as we say, we don't catch all of them. But the ones that we do catch, it's like, that's cool. And then we move on to, like, the bigger, better picture of it all.
Yeah, they're the gummy
agree.
bears on my yogurt.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a love yogurt and gummy bears.
Yeah, that's what they are.
Great.
Okay, so we are running just a little short on time, so let's get into some quick predictions for the next episode.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
We will start at the complete opposite end of the table. April, do you have any predictions of what will happen next?
I think the prisoner is going to get out, and I'm really excited to see what he ends up doing and how he reacts to the normal world.
Yes, absolutely.
See ya.
I think that Henry is not going to leave like he says he's going to. And I also think that Molly is going to confess to him that she killed his father. I think she's not going to be able to hold it in anymore.
Ooh, I wonder how that's going to turn out.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be moving into a courthouse, and there's going to be a hearing. And I'm still remembering that quote about not ever letting him see daylight again. And he's going to get out. He's going to see some more daylight, and some more stuff is going to happen. A lot of people going to die.
Oh.
A lot of people. Maybe some scary dogs. I don't know.
Looking forward to it.
I know there's a lot of talk about the Shawshank prisoner being this devil or the Antichrist, but I kind of think that something's up with Henry because something's up with his dad. His dad was a pastor, his dad died, and there was something going on in the relationship that Molly knows about. So my thinking is maybe his father thought maybe he was the devil and was trying to fix this quote-unquote problem that Castle Rock has way back when because he thinks it's Henry. Because something's going on with him. Maybe he's not the devil like the Shawshank prisoner, but maybe he is of some similar supernatural entity.
Maybe Henry's an entity of light then, and was mistaken
could
for
be
something
too.
of dark. You know, kind of like The Stand. You know, like that whole thing. That, yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Like I mentioned earlier, there are so many routes that the show can go.
Yes.
And we are here to see every one of them, hopefully, at some point play out. But that is all the time that we have today. Thank you so much for tuning into the Castle Rock After Show. Jorge, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on all of my social media at the El Jorge. And that is the EL Jorge. Also, you can find me on Thursday nights on Queen of the South and Tuesday, The 100, here on AfterBuzz.
Yeah.
And you can find me on Instagram at Zia_land. It's XIA_land. And also Sunday nights on Marvel TV Weekly.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at April13Dawn.
And again, I'm Veronica Valencia. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at itsmeveronica_V. You can also catch me on the Attack on Titan After Show Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific Time and the Outpost Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Pacific Time. Until then, thank you so much again for tuning into our show, and be sure to tune in next week when we break down Episode 5.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.